Scoodly doodly doo, it's time for another Welch review. Scoodly doodly doo. Welcome to the Welch Review.
Hi.
We hope the day has treated you well, and thank you for joining us in this next thrilling adventure.
Yeah.
So today, guys, we're taking a trip to the RZA, the RZA, right, of Wu-Tang Clan fame, coming to Cutthroat City.
Yeah.
And it stars, maybe we should redo that.
Nah, it's cool. We're gonna roll.
Okay, so it stars Shameik Moore as Blink, Demetrius Shipp Jr. as Miracle, and Demetrius Shipp Jr. Previously played Tupac Shakur.
Really?
In the Tupac bio. Yeah.
Tupac.
And he did really well. He does really look like Tupac, too. At least, well, in the Tupac film. In this movie, I didn't think, oh, look, Tupac's doing stuff,
Yeah.
you know? But,
oh, Tupac came back.
yeah, Tupac came back. But, like, he was good.
He's off his island.
I wish Tupac was back. I miss Tupac. We need more of him. You have Denzel Whitaker as Andre. Denzel Whitaker is Forrest Whitaker's son, so that's pretty cool. You have Keenan Johnson as Junior, Kat Graham as Demira, Tip T.I. Harris as Lorenzo Cousin Bass, which is, you know...
Lorenzo.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you have Terrence Howard as the Saint, and we'll talk about that. Rob Morgan as Cowboy Courtney, Isa Gonzalez as Lucinda Benoit, Ethan Hawke as Jackson Sims, Wesley Snipes. We need more Wesley Snipes in life.
Agree.
As Lawrence, Joel David Moore as Peter Felton, and Isaiah Washington as Sinclair Stewart. And this
Sinclair.
and it was written by P.J. Kucheri, and as said again, directed by the phenomenal RZA, the RZA of the man with iron fists and from Wu-Tang.
I thought that you were gonna say we're gonna take a trip to Cutthroat City, because it was like, dang, that's a cool intro. And then you're like, we're gonna take a trip to the RZA.
Oh.
And I was like, what?
I should have said that. Yeah, we are taking a trip to Cutthroat City, and when we say Cutthroat City, this firm is referring to
Louisiana.
Yep, specifically the Louisiana during Hurricane Katrina.
Was it Ward 6?
Yeah, Ward 6.
Ward 6. So anyways, yep, shortly after Hurricane Katrina, everybody's house is destroyed. Everybody's being bailed out except for the people in Ward 6. Instead, they're buying up land and slapping in casinos. They're basically tanking the neighborhood. Not that the neighborhood was great before, but now, like, you know, people don't even have homes. You know, so
it's like the poverty line's here, and they're just like, it's already going downhill. We're just going to drive it into the ground and start again without them.
Exactly. So they're just screwing over this neighborhood even worse, or this ward even worse, and this ward is predominantly people of color. Like, very, very predominantly. There's one character, well, there's two characters from that neighborhood who are not. So, anyways, we start off with this group of friends, and basically all of them have their own aspirations for how to get out. One of them wants to be an artist, one wants to be a musician, one wants to just be a very good drug dealer.
So he wants to use the drugs to become a rapper.
To become a rapper.
Right, but like, you know, unfortunately that whole thing with like, oh, you know, you're credit on the street.
Yeah.
You know?
And then the other one wants to train dogs.
Yep.
Yeah. And sell them to European people.
For mucho bucks.
Yeah. Basically, none of those aspirations really work out, and all of them are financially struggling. So they go to this guy, Cousin, who is actually one of the main character, Blink's cousin by marriage. And they're like, hey, we'll do a job for you and get this money, and, you know, maybe, you know, you give us some money. But their plan is to do one job and then be out of it. But then some complications happen. You wanna talk about like what goes down?
Yeah, no, absolutely. If I can, I'd just like to talk a smidge about Cousin, if that's okay.
Sure.
And then we'll go into that. So Cousin is basically like the local feudal lord, right? Like
Actually, though, yes.
He's carved a niche. Well, because right, like I mean, again, I feel like Katrina isn't talked about. Like enough, like the hardships that like put on people, right? Like it became kind of like an apocalyptic wasteland in some aspects, you know. Whereas like it wasn't as patrolled by the cops. The government did not release aid or care or do all they could do.
Well, I don't think that the cops would have been the solution. I think that the solution would have been the aid, but yeah.
Well, I don't mean like cops are helping. I'm just saying like crime was like in
Rampant.
it was rampant, right? Like it was in a sense sort of the Wild West. You were on your own, right? You were on your own. So Cousin's the local feudal lord, and he's all like, "Look it, you're gonna rob this casino for me. And I'll cut you some money, and we'll be square, right?" And he's like, "Look it though, man. Like, even though we're family, I ain't got no problem killing you. You know, like no qualms about killing them whatsoever." So that's okay. So they go to do this heist now, but what's crazy is it seems too easy, right? Like, so they get in, they get out. Things don't, things go pretty smoothly up until like this seems like this other group of like police are also coming to rob said casino.
Yeah. They just show up. Like, nobody's called the cops yet, and they just show up in force.
Yeah.
Like, immediately, and they're like, "Yo, what?"
So like when they got away, the casino didn't report the robbery or the crime because they were planning on knocking off their own casino anyway.
Oh, no, they did report it, but they over-reported it. You mean like they didn't call the cops?
Oh, they over-report the money?
Because what they do is they, the people get kidnapped. Or they don't get kidnapped. What am I saying? They steal the money.
Yeah.
But they don't steal as much money as what's supposed to be there.
Okay.
Like, their information's bad. So the money that they get is less than what it's supposed to be. And then not only that, but then the casino overinflates the amount that they did take.
That way insurance will have to kick it.
That way insurance has to kick back that much money because they got robbed.
And in doing all this, right, so with the cops who are coming to rob the joint, one of the group of friends, right, Denzel Whitaker, his character Andre, he dies.
Yeah. Right,
he gets shot. Which then in turn means, one, they're now down a friend. Two, they don't have nearly the amount of money that Cousin Bass was expecting them to have, so they now owe him. And he has this terrifying thing with raccoons.
This is universal punishment. It's like,
you gotta walk the plank, and walking the plank means sticking your penis in a raccoon cage.
And it's not just a raccoon cage. It's a rat. Like, you know how like there's chicken fights, like cockfights. Well, this is raccoon fights, and this raccoon is fighting your
raccoon
cock.
Oh, and it's like you're never gonna look at like a trash panda the same. You're like, huh?
Rocket Raccoon, stay away from me, buddy.
Star-Lord better not mess up.
Yeah.
But so like that kind of makes raccoons in a whole new light. But anyway, like so and then so they're dealing with a whole bunch of things on top of the trauma of losing a friend, the financial responsibility the debt they now owe,
not wanting to have your penis bitten off,
right? And now the cops looking into them, right, for something that realistically they were pawns in.
Yeah.
And on top of that, now they got to bury their friend.
Yes. So we got all these issues going, and basically, they decide, like, hey, we should probably jump town. Like, they try to explain it to Cousin. He don't really get it. He tries to kill them. They don't die or really get hurt. So they jump town. They go to Blink's dad's house, and Blink's dad had...
Wesley Snipes!
Who's Wesley Snipes, is a really good character, who's extremely underutilized, but we'll talk about that later. Basically, they decide, like, hey, we robbed one casino and got away with it. Why don't we just rob all the casinos to get this money back? So they go and they rob, like, all the casinos in the area.
And they just have a montage of them robbing and then, like, chilling with guns. Which, like, is kind of cool. You're like, yeah, man, I like montages.
Yeah, and basically their plan becomes, what if we pay off this dude who's scarier than Cousin, called the Saint,
Terrence Howard.
Who's Terrence Howard, to go and take care of Cousin. Like, like, oh, we have all of this money, we'll give it to you, and could you take care of Cousin so that we can go back home, so that we can be home free?
Which sounds cool, right? Like it's a solid plot line, right? So like you got the feudal lord, then you got like the cartel leader, right?
Well, not just the cartel leader. You got the feudal lord, and then you got the king.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like the lord to the king, and it's.
And I have a couple thoughts about that, but like in doing this, right? So I don't think Terrence Howard is
Good.
Yeah, good. He's just not good. You know, like, realistically, they could have gotten a lot of... I feel like he and Isaiah Washington should have switched roles, right? Isaiah Washington was the funeral, like a mortician.
Yeah, I could see that.
He would have been a much better, like, you know, like, mythos king of, like, this underground thing, you know, who's suave, but also businesslike in Cutthroat, right? He would have been much better in that role than Terrence Howard. Because you see Terrence Howard, you're just like...
I could take him.
Yeah, like, you're like a doughboy. You're just a little puffy fat guy. You know, like, you're not intimidating. And I don't really think you're as smooth as you're trying to be right now.
Yeah.
So it was a little like, this is lame.
Yeah. So anyways, what ultimately happens, we're gonna leave to the viewers. There is some confusion at the end of the film, but it's basically just our artist friend writing his own story, right?
Yeah.
Like, he writes a story to kind of help himself financially, but what you need to understand is when you see that scene, it's going to conflict directly with the rest of the plot.
Yeah.
And that's just Blink's story summarizing what would have happened, right, if they had kept going down that road. So, overall, as far as performances go, we said Terrence Howard, not the best.
Nope.
Wesley Snipes played awesome by you, Daddy.
Yes. He was great.
He was great. He should have been in the film more. I think that they definitely could have incorporated him in more ways than what they did, because he gets cut out very quickly after he's introduced.
Yeah.
Also,
Isaiah Washington has a small role. Not really a full role, but he does good. I really think he was underutilized as well. Shamik Moore is really good. I hope to see more of him. I also think Denzel Whitaker as Dre.
Yeah.
I thought he was really good. The main cast of Friends, like, you believe that they were all real friends.
Yeah, I would say that generally all of the cast was pretty well done. I mean, even Shamik's wife in the show was really, really well done. Like, you believed, like, she was struggling, she was putting her best foot forward. Mm-hmm. You know, she was doing all that she could, and she was trying not to get murdered by her cousin. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Even T.I. was great as a villain. He was really good. I would think Ethan Hawke, I know we didn't talk about him much, but it's really because his character has no purpose. You know what I mean?
I mean, his character does... So his character in the background is, like, trying to help these guys get back, right? But at the same time, like, what they're doing is also trying to help themselves get back. So I guess there's, like, argument for overlap, but I think that he could have been just completely cut out and not included, and the film would have been fine. In fact, it would be less complicated.
It probably should, like what he said, that's it. I also think the ending choice, right? Like, that whole idea, like, oh, this is, like, what has just been filmed is the comic that Blink writes.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's a cool, like, idea. I would argue that the execution of it was
not great,
not the best, right?
Yeah.
And I know the RZA, right? His big influences, aside from, like, kung fu films, is Quentin Tarantino, right? And it's very obvious, like...
It's very Tarantino-esque.
It's very Tarantino-esque. I could even argue very Robert Rodriguez-esque, right? Like, he's trying to fit in that sort of niche. So not a bad, like, sophomore effort.
Yeah.
You know, or I don't know if he directed the second Man with Iron Fist, but either way, not a bad second or third directorial effort, I guess.
I think as far as films go, and as somebody who isn't just a director, right? Because he's transitioned from this musical, not aspect of his life, but pathway in his life. Like, this is a really good film.
It raises a lot of very good questions. You know, obviously, in a lot of this aspect, right? It's fictitious, but you know, the under preparation, the under aid from the government, right? All that stuff during Katrina is very real.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if that's necessarily addressed as much as it should be, right? So it's showcasing, like, you know, hey, you dropped the ball here, man. Like,
the movie definitely does a good job showing, like, what living as somebody below the poverty line, as a person of color, in Louisiana was like at the time. And not just that, but also the discrimination and, like, you know, weight of life and, like, the hard choices that you had to make just to survive. Yeah, I think you're totally right. I think that they do a good job showing through a fictitious cast of characters what life was actually like to some extent. And obviously this is, you know, I don't have a lot of reference point. I live pretty far away from Louisiana, and I am pretty white. So I do, neither of us have the experience, but yeah, I wouldn't want to wind up having to make the decisions that the characters in this film made. And obviously the actors would not either, because that's a hard road, you know.
But it's definitely worth your time. It's worth your watch. So if you can, pick it up or find it somewhere.
Yeah, this is a good film.
You know, but this has been the Welch Review.
Sign off.